Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Grab your popcorn, your drink of choice, a glass of red wine, a cup of coffee, some kind of beverage. Don't forget the Kool-Aid for the kids. Call your mama, call your papa, call your neighbor and your friends, your grandmama and your grandpapa, your mommy, your daddy, your nieces and your nephews, your brothers and sisters. Let them all know that Simon Says is on. Buckle up. We'll take a quick break and come right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. So we're moving straight into where we left off last week with our questions to the legislators, the Prime Minister and his cabinet, and whoever else fall in. By the way, is it true a radio station downtown St. George's is paid over $69,000 monthly to run NDC's propaganda? Is it true the IMA/CBI is footing the bill for that radio station, whilst villagers have to push the ambulance to kickstart it after picking up a patient?
Imagine you have to push the ambulance, boy. In Grenada, imagine you have to push the ambulance. Watch. You have to push the ambulance, boy. Oh. No. People dead in Grenada, you have to push the ambulance. Aja man come out for himself, dude. Nobody have to push it, Aja. Push the ambulance? You have to push the ambulance. Aja, the man come out for himself, Aja. You have to push the ambulance. A dead man in Grenada.
What else could happen? We kickstart an ambulance when we just purchased 15 brand new pickup trucks for the parliamentarians, so to speak, and a brand new X-Rail for the Speaker of the House. And they all have their personal vehicles. Not to say they down and out and need a vehicle. I understand the speaker after the program last week, Sunday gone, he ain't go to church with the new one. He had another one, the one he had before, that he could go to church with. But we taking taxpayers' money and purchase a vehicle for the Speaker of the House. Huh? When we had to get men to push the ambulance every time it stopped. Huh? And the thing is, these guys, they're getting 100% duty-free concession, plus $2,000 for transportation monthly, right? Why? Saying it's for constituency use. To do what? So they've been using their vehicles for 3.5 years. And before that, whomever the parliamentarians were, they were using their own vehicles as well, and they got through, didn't they? So why they need special vehicle? And it's 2.5 ambulance we have. Now, what you can say? Eh? I mean, come on. The Prime Minister just replaced the vehicle he is traveling. You know what you call it? But it's in the security detail. Just replaced it with a high-end luxury vehicle. BMW, one of the highest end, costing $250,000. $1,000. Eh? While, I mean, we had to push our ambulance. Come on now. What is that? What is the purpose? Why did the Prime Minister at this stage? Not only that, we're heading into an election period. Because from now to 2027, the election could call anytime. Why you need to purchase, unless it was an order with special features and things, so it took a while before it get here. I wouldn't doubt that either. I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, it's crazy stuff. Priorities, all wrong. It's all important about the look for photo ops, how we look, instead of the Grenadian people that you say putting people first. Which people you put first? People had to share oxygen at the general hospital. We lost an individual because the clinic where he went first, before they could get to the hospital, had no oxygen. They died. Yes. This is how you put your people first. The ambulance had to be careful not to stop in an emergency when it cannot stop, or else you had to get men to push it. They are not. We suffering for fire trucks. St. David, the Prime Minister constituency, do not have a fire truck. The former administration had just renovated a building up there by the police station for the fire, as the firehouse. All they need now is a fire truck. Where is the fire truck for St. David's? Recently, a house burned flat. Look, last night, big fire in Lacalome. The cane fields caught a fire. Dangerous enough for the residents. Fire truck have to come from somewhere else. We don't have a fire truck in St. David. To the Prime Minister, as we get ready for Cariifa Games, I don't know if you could answer this question, but your friend, you might be able to ask him. Why didn't the National Lottery Authority able to pay the $7 million due to Royalton Hotel at the end of January, as was contracted? Why? And is it true, after they ask for time, give them to the 15th, still couldn't come up with the money to pay the Royalton? All the while, the managing director, Cindy Henry, and the chairman of the board, William Baptiste, was enjoying some recreation time, traveling, first to St. Lucia and then to Carriacou Carnival. Can someone please tell us if the Royalton Hotel was paid their monies contracted for? Of course, it's for accommodation for the athletes and their team coming in. Something we didn't have to be in right now, as a matter of, we didn't have to be struggling and worrying about paying Royalton for the Cariifa, for the athletes and their team. Because we only just hosted Cariifa Games. Barbados or ever was supposed to take it up 2026. They said they couldn't afford to do it. All the richer islands, richer than Grenada, couldn't afford to do it. But we had to take it. And now you can't come up with the monies to pay for the accommodation. But Port Lottery Authority, this after they spend some $8 million for the botched installation of the lights at the cricket stadium. Can you imagine? Our whole country was catfished. Cricket, lovely cricket. We say, the story goes, Grenada was to host 2 international series between West Indies women and Sri Lankan women. 3 one-day international, the ODI, and 3 T20 games. The ODI from 9 a.m. and the T20 matches that was supposed to be played at nights will now be played in the day from 1 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Of course, before the sun goes down. This, according to the spokesperson on the behalf of the Cricket Association, in fact, the president of the Grenada Cricket Association, Mr. Norman Gilbert.
2026 at the National Stadium. It's going to be 3 one-day internationals and 3 T20 matches that are going to be played right here at the National Stadium. It's the first series for Team West Indies for the 2026 schedule calendar, as they are preparing to participate in the One International World Cup in June. They just came from a training camp in Antigua recently in terms of preparation for this series. Both teams are on the ground. They have been in training for the past few days, having the practice sessions. And I think all is a go for what we believe would be a very exciting series against Sri Lanka. Of course, our very own Afi Fletcher is going to be featured as a member of the West Indies team. And she is also on the verge of 2 major milestones in the T20 championships. And that milestone would be, we expect that she will be featured in the 100th T20 International, which is an amazing achievement for a female cricketer, or any cricketer for that matter. And additionally, she is on 96 wickets, that's T20 wickets, and we expect that having to play 3 T20 matches, that she will be able to achieve this feat in this series. We are happy if she can do so in the very first T20 game, which would make her achieve her 2 milestones in the same encounter. But of course, we know that she is capable, and she has been one of, if not the main spinner for the West Indies over the last 10 or so years. So we are very thankful to have Afi home. It's the first time we have Afi home in an international series, maybe in about 10 years. And so it's good that we have our player before our local crowd to ensure that we can, support her to achieve her milestones. Outside of that, we are all ready in terms of the logistics. Match officials are on the ground. We expect the broadcast team to be on the ground shortly, so that they can set up for broadcasts. But outside of that, as you can see, the pitch and field has been prepared in very good condition. Of course, coming from the West Indies on the 19, England on the 19 series, there isn't much work that had to be done. And so we believe that we'll be able to put on 6 very exciting matches. Just to also indicate as well that the ODIs begins at 9 in the morning on the match days, and the T20 series would start at 1 p.m. in the afternoon and would conclude about 5:30 p.m. There is no required entrance fee for the games, so the games are all free to the general public. So we want to encourage persons to come out as much as possible to support the women, but also to support Afi in a very special way. I know Minister might be very proud that she's also from her constituency, and I hope that Minister has a plan as well to support Afi in this encounter. But it's not solely about Afi; it really is about the West Indies and being able to promote women's cricket. And so we are asking for the public support in ensuring that we support the women as much as we would for our international men. So we look forward to the ODI series that starts on Friday, 20th. The second game will be on the 25th, that's Sunday. We expect that the T20 series starts on the 28th, the 1st, and the 3rd of March, which would be the conclusion of the series. So I believe that we are ready. We are ready to go, and we are thankful for the support so far for the local organizing committee and the work that they have done in the background, of course, with the support of the ministry, with the support of all the coordinators who have been assisting us at a local level to ensure that, the logistical stuff is done and prepared for what we believe would be 6 very exciting encounters.
So the obvious question is, why are the T20 games that was scheduled for nighttime are being played in the day? Why? I'll answer this one for you all. I've been waiting on them to answer. They're not going to answer anyway. We know they'll answer it. Plain and simple, the lighting at the cricket stadium was not certified by the ICC, the International Cricket Council. That's the global governing body for cricket. The government of Grenada was catfished by some Indians. Lighting that was supposed to cost $12 million was contracted for $8 million. Poles are too short, causing a glare in the eyes and the faces of the players. So the players, if a ball is batted up in the air and look up, what they're seeing is a glare. They can't see the ball. Well, unless it hit them in their face. That's when they would realize that the ball is, well, not on its way down, but it's on them. So not until somebody get their face or their head busted, that's why they couldn't use the lights. And there are shadows everywhere coming from the lights. Now, if you go back and you look at the independence celebration in the evening after the sun go down, take a look and you would see the shadows everywhere from the lights. Now, they are the same ones, the Indians, who did the lights at Progress Park. And lest we forget, here is a GBN, I believe it's GBN clip, where persons who know what they're talking about spoke about the position of the lights, the height. Well, just let's listen to the clip.
Was the cart put before the horse with the installation of lights at Progress Park? The elephant in the room. That is how Gerald Sincere termed the promise of a synthetic track for Progress Park.
Progress Park is one of the better cricketing fields in the island. But we also want to put on a synthetic track in Progress Park. So there is some contention there, but we're not addressing it.
During the recent consultation on the future of Progress Park and sport in St. Andrew, the debate got intense between community activists, sport representatives and enthusiasts on what should be the plans for Progress Park.
So if we decide to put a synthetic track in Progress Park, then we would need to get another park, develop it to a high standard as Progress Park is, so that we can play cricket.
Progress Park transcends the realms of sport and even culture into the socio-economic livelihoods of the residents of St. Andrew, who share a deep connection with the most popular playing field in the parish. Local resident Claude Douglas added that the plan for a mini stadium at Progress Park is no longer viable, with the developments made since 2007 and the selling of lands for residential purposes. He highlighted the existence of a pump which needs repairs for the upkeep of the facility to be included.
Even as we discuss again on development without management is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. So if we're going to develop there must be a management, and I'm talking about a day-to-day staff.
Critical to the discussion was the future of cricket, as well as cultural and other activities, if the decision to install synthetic tracks becomes a reality.
I'm not sure the best thing now is to move away from it. Then again, let's take into consideration what cricket has done for Grenada. I mean, this is what put us on the map. And he started with Juna, he started with Royal, Grenada is looked at very high on the map in terms of cricket. We are seeing now that there's lighting in the stadium. And I guess most of us will know that there's a thinking that one of the franchises will be down here. There's something about Grenada. So it means that we are looking to develop, we are looking to expand cricket in the country. And you wouldn't want to take away one of your major venues at this point in time. Look at what that has done for our players. St. Andrews is the mecca of cricket in Grenada. They had as much as 40-something teams playing cricket in St. Andrews.
Rafael Coney, a representative of the Grenada Cricket Association, also had concerns on how the lights were erected at Progress Park.
One is the height of the lights. It therefore means cricket can't be played there in the night. The lights going to be mashed up. It's too low. The other factor with that is that the lights are so close to the field, the amount of heat that will be given out. Because you look at the magnitude of the lights, those are not small lights. That's a lot of lights. We look at CPL, and you could see the athletes, the cricketers sweating and wetting, like if it's rain, and that's highlight. No, Progress Park is smaller. The lights are much lower, I think about 70, 75 feet. And it's very close to the playing area. So one tells you the amount of heat that we're giving out there, it would create a challenge for the athletes. It's a real challenge.
Sports Minister Delma Thomas welcomed the contributions from stakeholders and community representatives to the future of Progress Park, noting that this was the rationale for the consultation.
We must make some decisions because we have not made I've heard back and forth that we made a decision, and we did the lights, and maybe you are telling us now that it's not for cricket, and maybe you are correct, but I'm on the phone with the contractor trying to ascertain whether that is factual or not, or whether the light could go higher, and he's asking, Madam, can you call me? Because he's still saying that it can be used for cricket.
She promised a follow-up meeting involving the consultant who led the installation of the lights within the next 2 months. I am Gerard Joseph, reporting.
A fish vendor never say the fish rotten. They will sell it to you in it. The point is, Mr. Crony there, Rafael Crony that spoke there, he's a veteran cricketer. I remember as a child hearing this guy being on the West Indies, on the Windward Islands cricket team, and he worked in the Ministry of Sports as cricket coordinator for decades. He is telling you, and yes, the consultation came after the lights went up, and he's telling you, number 10, that they're too low. How you mean you asking the man if the pole could go higher? There are higher poles, and it's supposed to be higher. So the mistake was made in Progress Park, right? But it's all about showing off. It was made when they decided to light up Progress Park. Oh, look at where the political leader for the NNP, look at where her house is to the park, and then light up the park. You, Delma Thomas, was also one of the representatives in St. Andrew. There were 4 of you, and the lights were not put. But it's all a show. So you quickly light up Progress Park and talking crap about putting synthetic the tracks down on the people field for their cricket and football. Huh? But it's to show off. You're doing things that they never do before. You know nothing about sports. So you went ahead and do the same thing. You did the same thing in La Sagesse. But we'll come to Lasajes in a minute. And did the same thing at the stadium. Quickly lighten it up for the T20 that's coming up. And now the T20 reach, and they can't use it. A waste of government scarce resources. Wasting millions, and we pushing the ambulance down the road. Explain that to me. Somebody have to explain that to me. Make that make sense. So the last suggest one. No, that's still the case. Because the previous administration spent millions putting up lights at last suggest. Perfect, beautiful, bright lights. You could do anything there. I went to Calypso tent there. And then shortly after that, I heard they said, oh, they have to change the lights because the light's not bright enough. Well, any brighter than that, I don't know what is that. Do you know, folks, they actually took down the lights that was in Lasajes and put up lights from these Indians. Well, let me show you. If you look on your screen, you see how the place light up bright. That's how it was lighting before 2022 elections. That's the place, right? Fit. Not a problem. No complaints. And these are lights that could have been turned on from anywhere in the world, by a phone, with an app from a phone. So there are those who were here, the people who put up the lights, they could have stayed abroad and turn it on and to fix whatever needs. That's the kind of thing we removed, right? If you look again, look now, and let's put it side by side. Look at the lights, the lighting now. So look at what they changed from to where we are today. I cannot imagine that this thing went to cabinet and that the prime minister was a part of this. Removing strictly lighting lights to say they're not lighting bright enough and put in what we have there. The lights that have been put up by the catfishers in Progress Park, in Lasajes, and at the stadium, they have to be turned on manually. So you have to go from pole to turn it on. Not sure if it's a key, if it's a code, whatever they have to use, but somebody has to have it or know it and go from pole to pole. When before the thing was done, you don't have to be in the area to turn on the lights if people needed the lights turned on at whatever time in the evening or in the night. So much so that after the new lights went up in Lasajes, the Prime Minister had some sort of event there. And I think they said the man to turn on the lights was in the country and didn't get down in time to turn on the lights because you have to do it manually. Look at them in the dark. Look at them in the dark in Lasajes.
To receive your award from Honorable Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. And if you've never bought fisherman, but check probably knows a good time to come. Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Let us put our hands together for all of the awardees and their hard work and their remarkable achievements thus far. We are very and ever so proud with a vote of thanks. I now invite a representative of the St. David Fishermen Association to deliver the vote of thanks. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for joining us here this evening. Let us put our hands together for our head table. Thank you to everyone who would have delivered remarks, expressed commitment, and of course to you, the fisher folk of St. David, who has kept fishing alive and well, even despite of not having assistance before and experiencing so many challenges. You stuck around, and we look forward to how this industry will blossom here in St. David. I'm looking forward to pulling sail with you one day, if not now. And of course, we look forward to the Lord to have now joined you and will keep this tradition of fishing alive. So let the fun and celebration begin. Thank you once again. You enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good night.
With lights on the pole, they down below with flashlights. I mean, what this could get. The Prime Minister, in Lhasa just with flashlights, when they have lights on a pole. And there was no need for that. You take down what I still wondering, and I'm sure most folks, especially from St. David's wondering, what happened to those lights they took down? I understand somewhere in the vicinity of $10 million was spent, but for proper thing, proper. Look. Somebody had to do them. This had to be obvious. They're not even kukute. Because I really don't understand it. It is obvious the Minister of Sports do not have a clue. I don't know if she has advisors. I don't know. I don't understand it. But more importantly, she seemed to be on her own making serious decisions, like lighting up the national stadium, embarrassing us as a people internationally. Was lighting up the stadium a priority at this time anyways? But it was to show off, to tick boxes. We light up the stadium. You know, the PRO for the NDC and all programs boasting how the stadium was there, how much years, and they light it up and we come and we lighten it up. Yeah, y'all light it up. Y'all could use the lights. No. Because for them, it's all a movie. It's a movie. So the games are free. We've heard the president of the Cricket Association saying our own Afi Fletcher, who is on the verge of 2 major milestones in the T20 Championship, her 100th T20 international game, and she is on 96 T20 wickets, so on the verge of getting to 100 T20 wickets, right? And hoping that all of this would happen during the 3 T20 games held here. Now, out of respect for the cricketers, the international games, I guess, to support Afi Fletcher, the St. Andrew Cricket League, who had their tournament on, postponed their matches so that people can attend the games at the stadium. I guess they're players anyway who they like their cricket and they would love that, right? However, the Prime Minister who hosted his Prime Minister's Cup games, whatever, this cricket tournament on the 22nd of February, Sunday the 22nd of February, while there were games there was a game at the stadium, had his own thing going on at the same time at La Sagesse playing field.
So wide signal there. So we have the scenario that says sponsor versus organizer. This one giving a bit too much air. Wide signal there. So PM Mitchell just needs to settle in a bit. He's going to get a good line and length shortly. It will be important that he settles in and gets the radar working.
Yeah, and certainly it's lack of work involvement for quite a while.
Yeah, been placed under a bit of pressure there. 47 for 4.
I ain't gonna say nothing much about the actual of what just happened there really. All I know is that, I've heard it before that when, the celebrities, when they're fading and nobody's paying much attention to them, they do things to get attention. And as bad as shoplifting, so that they get into the news. And yeah, that's all I'll say on that. All this whilst the second ODI game was being played at the stadium. And let me have you know, across the way at the Kirani James Stadium, the national relay meet was happening on that same day, Sunday. So what's going on at the Ministry of Sports? It is obvious there are wrong pegs in square holes. And the pinky don't know what the thumb is doing. Because I can't understand if you bring international games to the stadium. I'm sure the relay meet had their date from year to year. They would say they would have the date because it's around the same time all the time. However, if you bid for a cricket game and you know that international cricket is coming, you have to speak to the organizers of the relay meet to change the date. So relay meeting at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. The Prime Minister's cup, he and his cup up in La Sagesse. And international cricket, women's cricket going on at the cricket stadium. Wrong pegs in square holes. And that starts at the top with the politicians. So now they've gone back to where it all started, the company, Moscow, who did the lights at the La Sagesse playing field. For the former NMP administration, they've gone to them for help. They are looking at a about 15,000 USD for them to come just to assess the situation, to see where they are with the lights, what can be done, if anything can be done, and then they would, how much it would cost, of course, to fix it, to be able to fix, but with a cost, with an overrun. It's like we can't help overrun a simple thing like that. We're gonna have overruns. Now, concerning the Neil Franklin case, a little update here, but I have questions. Question to the Commissioner of Police, Randy Connaught, and Starboy Vanny Cohen. Was the coroner informed of the findings surrounding Neil Franklin's death? Given the circumstances, was the coroner / the magistrate, chief magistrate, was the coroner informed of the findings surrounding Neil Franklin's death? Now, according to the autopsy, which I did read for you guys, and I'm just going to do a little bit because we got to put things into perspective here. Where's my glasses? How am I reaching there? The autopsy that was commenced at 10 a.m. on Friday, the 5th September 2025, and it says here, the body was that of a well-nourished young African male, 180 centimeters long. The mucous membrane was pink and the sclera anesthetic. And it's saying there were no external signs of injury, right? Now, the autopsy findings, the right ventricle dilation, value 150, valve 150 millimeter. The pleural effusions, serious right, 600 milliliter left, 1,000 milliliters. Congested liver, acute renal failure, pulmonary, pleural, and cerebral hemorrhage. Summary of opinion of the cause of death. From the above mentioned information and the parents, I believe Neil Franklin, age 27 years, died from multi-organ failure, affecting the kidneys, heart, and the central nervous system. I mean, the clinical history is compatible with chemical toxin. However, a toxic screen would be done to include ethylene glycol, ethanol, methanol, anopods like phenolphthalein, marijuana, and other agricultural poisons. Toxicology will be done on tissue samples taken at autopsy. And it was signed by Professor Hubert Daisley. All of this is happening. Just a minute. Bear with me, because the client, after the toxicology report was done, there's a certificate of analysis. And the client is the Commissioner of Police, Royal Grenada Police Force, St. George's, Grenada. And it says here, products, biological samples of Neil Franklin, right? Now the results, the blood. It says here, polyethylene glycol, right? 83%. Ethanol, 90%. And paracetamol, 99%. What did the police do? The day after I did the piece on Neelan, the police, the superintendent hall of the CID visited the mother of Neelan out there in Brizan, Neelan's mom, and said to her that basically there's no investigation, there's no case, because all they saw in Neelan's blood was paracetamol. All they saw was paracetamol. No, it's a poison. I'll have you know, right? Now back to Commissioner Randy Connett. We would like to know, supervise the inquiry into Neelan Franklin's death. Was there a coroner's inquest to the Minister of National Security and Prime Minister of Grenada, Deacon Mitchell? Did the Commissioner of Police act according to law? If not, why not? Folks, let me make this clear to you. The RGPF did not have or do not have the authority to say whether Neelan Franklin's death was murder or not, whether he was poisoned or not. That is for the coroner and the DPP, ultimately so, to decide. It's their decision, right? But the RGPF has to report the case. They have the certificate, the toxicology certificate. They've seen the autopsy. And that's the big question. That is the big question. Folks, please let us keep our eye on this one. All is not well. It is being swept away. And if we take note and put the pressure on, keep our eyes on the ball, it will end up under the carpet. It will definitely end up under the carpet. Moving along. Which is the law firm in the south of the island that benefited from the sale of the lands, the 89 acres of lands, to the government of Grenada for Project Polaris, their health village? What is the total cost of Project Polaris Health Village? We yet to find out as a people what we would be spending on, if at all it concerns us, because more and more Project Polaris is coming across as a private project of a few. What is the cost per pig, per goat, and per sheep imported by the Ministry of Agriculture? Give us an update on that project. Show us where they are, how they're flourishing, the goat, the pig, and the sheep. It shows us. Now, after my episode on the pigs, mainstream media, GBN, seek answers and spoke to the permanent secretary, Mr. Isaac Bagwan, on the matter.
The allegations surfaced after reports of animal with sores and bruises not attributed to bites and unconfirmed livestock deaths. Despite not providing a response to those particular concerns, Secretary Isaac Bagwan, in an earlier interview, explained about the animal's health.
We've had 1 or 2 losses, not anything of significance. My understanding is just about 3 or 4. And it was not so much so disease conditions or anything like that. So one, I think, got asphyxiated due to the amount of feed it would have consumed. One got into a fight, and of course, you could not, kept it. And so the department have been doing an excellent job, and we have been collaborating with St. George's University. So we've been doing what is referred to as monthly herd health to make sure that there's no ticks or fleas or mites or whatever it is that would affect these animals. We've had situations where 1 or 2 would have had some resistance to some of the medication, but we've since taken steps to, get alternative medication.
These concerns come nearly a year after the government imported more than 300 hybrid animals, including pigs, as part of a national drive to bolster food security and enhance livestock production. The animals are intended for distribution to local farmers.
So, as I mentioned, 25 farmers should have benefited. However, the quality of these animals, they're huge animals, these bulls, and so some of the farmers that was originally selected, of course, we know that we would have had Hurricane Beryl. Some of the pens, of course, were not up to the standard. Unfortunately, some of the bull pigs are bigger than some of the size of the pens, and the construction of some of the farmers' pen was just not adequate, in fact. And so 2 things in terms of moving forward. One is that we've sent out an application again to ask farmers that we would have originally selected to reapply and to look for new farmers, because some of them have to upgrade the quality of the pen and, of course, the feeding regime.
Permanent Secretary Isaac Bagwan reiterated that farmers must meet strict criteria regarding the strength, size, and structure of their facilities before receiving any animals. He reported that several farmers are already seeing positive results from the hybrid stock and announced that additional funding will soon be available to help farmers upgrade their facilities, ensuring proper animal care and welfare.
Also, too, I must also indicate that in this year's budget 2026, the sum of approximately $1 million was made available so that we could assist farmers in upgrading the pens. So very shortly, I expect within a week or 2, we would be sending out again to the public to say to farmers, pig farmers, that these are funds that is available. Of course, we'll have a selection criteria and, of course, a minimum amount that farmers could benefit. So all that is in the intent of making sure that they have quality pens. And, of course, for those, as I've said before, who have been missed, to give them an opportunity to apply, and then we'd screen them and make sure that the pens are adequate so that they would continue with the program. And in fact, I'm very pleased to say that of the 25 private farmers that have been given bulls, only 2 days ago they started to deliver. So we in terms of seeing the benefits.
Christina John, GBN News.
Thank you, Christelina. Now I'm quoting here. It was only 1 or 2 losses, not anything significant. My understanding is just 3 or 4. So is it 1 or 2, 3 or 4? But the information reaching me was 5 at that point in time, right? That died or had to be taken down because they were sick. It couldn't be consumed, and they had to burn them to death. If you see on your screen, you would see the state, the conditions that those animals were in. They couldn't even get up and walk. Sores, cuts, bruises. What is this? Right? So to come and try to make us feel that all is well, it's not working. Right? Now, after 1 year, after a whole year, you now realize that some of the farmers, and only because GPN went to you, that some of the farmers, their pens are not adequately prepared for the animals, right? After 1 year. So where are these animals? Because up to now, you said only in the 2026 budget, an allocation was made. And under Vote 164, Ministry of Agriculture and Lands and Forestries, in the 225 estimates, the agricultural budget was cut by $30 million. The estimates for 2026, a mere $11,133,200. A further cut after $30 million in 2025, a further cut of $4 million, roughly $4 million. The 2025 estimates, 14,735,256. Now, Beryl was in July. The animals in July of 2024. The animals came here in December of 2024. So the burial factor is not an issue. You had half a year to figure out how to help the farmers get their pens ready for the animals. Big show and tell at the airport. Ministers went down to meet the crates in the evening, in the dark, in the dust, right? And you have nowhere to put them and have them in this state they're in. Part of the reason talking about overeating, well, who's feeding them? Why are you all giving them too much food? It's just a total mess. Everything, every department is a total mess. Now, almost at the inception, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, in a matter of months after entering office in 2022, announced the closure of Marketing and Importing Board, the National Marketing and Importing Board. However, according to Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and Minister for Agriculture, then Adrian Persuader Thomas, the government, had not made up their minds. They have not made a decision as yet. So they took it to the farmers, right? In consultation. They did St. Andrew and St. John. Now let's hear what the Prime Minister had to say on the consultation.
This is a consultation, meaning we want to hear your views, we want to hear your input. So you have the opportunity to do so. Don't leave the room and then afterwards say, you know, they should have done this or they should have done that. If you have a view, now is the time to share the view. Let me also assure you that the government hasn't made up its mind as yet. If I had made up my mind, I would not be engaging in consultation. I would have told you what the government's position is, and this is what we're doing. And I would have done so because it's taxpayers' money that we have to spend to, regardless of what the options are, it is taxpayers' money that are already spending because...
Likewise, the Minister of Agriculture then, the Minister for Agriculture, Adrian Persuader Thomas.
I'm saying that to say that this is such an important sector. And the two entities here this evening, the farmers and the Marketing and National Importing Board, are two important institutions. We know the role that the farmer has to play. And especially when we are talking food security, food and nutrition security. In our transformational agenda, you have a very critical role to play. And hence the reason why the Prime Minister and his initiative decided that in order to make a decision in the interest of the nation, the farmers must be consulted. Put your hands together. And if the farmers are the architects of the food we eat, to produce the food we eat, then marketing board has a very critical role to play. And if it is not playing that role, we cannot and dare not, as the Prime Minister said, we cannot sit down and do nothing about it. If marketing board is not playing the role that it has to play, there will be a break in the transformational agenda. And therefore, it is our responsibility as a government to make sure that a void is not created. If marketing board is not playing the role that it has to play, we as a responsible government and a responsible people have to fix it. And therefore, it is our intention to make sure that an institution is present, whether we have to fix the present one, whether we have to establish a new one, but that void must be filled. And therefore, we understand the role of an institution of that nature, because you cannot produce if you don't have consumers. And marketing is very crucial in that situation. So fellow farmers, I want to implore you that this evening is a time for you to speak. The Prime Minister indicated that we have not made a decision as yet in terms of where we're going. So your input is very crucial. You have an opportunity to think hard, think outside the box, and give us the necessary advice so that we can make the best decision in the interests of Grenada, Cariifa, and PT Matnik. Thank you.
Breaking the transformational agenda, that's funny. That one is really funny. But you heard them both. They need the farmers, they're consulting the farmers so they can make their decision not made yet, and so on. So I want you to bear with me as I play some of the reactions, the comments from some of the farmers, and there were many more I could have, but I just want you to hear what the farmers almost unanimously had to say.
Right now, we cannot close down marketing board. If we close down marketing board, Grenada close down. We need marketing board needs the farmers. So we have to look for a solution to revive marketing board. One of the solutions is that they get foreign market for the farmers, that marketing board should not be competing with the farmers. We need marketing board need the farmers. When I say we the farmers need marketing board, marketing board need the farmers. And for Grenada to go forward, we must promote marketing board and agriculture. Good night.
My name is Gertrude Abraham, live at Tigoli, St. Andrews. To correct the gentleman, if you know about Labe Market, that's the only place you could go in Brooklyn and get local Grenadian products. I could say that because that is one of my main markets with my cocoa balls in the United States. Right? So we have out there, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough, right? Well, I've been selling to marketing board since Mr. James' time, so that's a long time, since I was a little girl. And it brings me to my independence. I just tell people I'm an independent woman because I could do anything and get anything I need. So it will be very sad to lose marketing board right now because some of my independence will be gone because that is one of my main markets besides the market in the States. That's my main market where I supply all my stuffs like cocoa ball, all the spices, right?
With protocol already established, my name is Norbert Julian, farmer.
Just stand a little closer to the mic to make sure we hear you. Put the mic up a little. Yeah.
Okay. Norbert Julian, farmer. I have been supplying to marketing board for the past 25 years. For the past 25 years, I have been supplying to marketing board. marketing board had become a critical partner in my business, right? And as a result, I will not support the idea of closing marketing board. I view marketing board as a family. And when members in your family have a problem, do you cast them outside and hope that they solve the problem? Or do you actually deal with the problem? Now, I am a bit disappointed if you just hear my last sister here saying she cannot say what she really wants to say. Because in my mind, I'm seeing that that forum here is not designed for that kind of approach, right? I would have liked to see something totally different happening so that we could address the situation.
My name is Fabian Roberts from River Sally. And I'm not going to comment much on the problems MNIB have. We all know what it is. My thing is we need to find solution because we cannot get rid of MNIB because I need it and the farmers need it. We have a project going on right now, Mr. Prime Minister. The street lights, what Grenada don't need. It costs $33 million. Marketing board only need $12 million to save it. Downsize that project and give that money to marketing board. Thank you.
Protocol already established. I want to say good afternoon to Honorable Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell and the rest of the head table. My name is Ralston Lewis. I'm a young farmer from the north in St. Patrick's. I recognize Mr. Andal. Good afternoon to you. We need to restructure marketing board. Now, I understand the pains of the farmers and the farming community. Now, the option of closing down will bring a lot of grievance to people who benefit from it. Now, there are a lot of scarred people inside here who have seen their life deteriorate all because they have joined partnership with marketing board doing businesses. I could tell you that I'm one of the persons, but thank God I've recovered. Now, moving forward.
Now, hearing these farmers all asking for the same thing, they said it was consultation, and that's why they went to the farmers, who it will affect, the closing down of marketing board will affect the most. They still shut it down. Now, as for partners that talking about the lights to downsize that project or program, not gonna happen. Friends come first. That is the Prime Minister's buddy. That's his project. And these days, there are further interests inside the cabinet. So, ain't gonna happen. Under the girlfriend's Ministry of Environment, the approved estimate for 2025 was 300,000. The actual amount spent was 941,000 for the solar lights. 3 times as much money that was estimated was spent. And a further 300,000 estimated under the 2026 budget. So in the words of Tanti Glow, my friend, brother man, light stays, marketing board went. The Prime Minister mentioned to the farmers out there in St. John, to one of the farmers, he said that he had to be careful how he spent taxpayers' monies.
The finance, I'm going to have to find ways to make sure we can find some money to spend on the marketing and national importing board. my view is that if I spend this money, I have to be able to justify it to taxpayers because it's taxpayers' money. And I have to be able to say to them, I will not be coming back here 6 months or 12 months after this to say to you, we need to spend some more money again on MNIB. So for me, those are the two crucial factors that has to influence whatever decisions we make going forward. One, it is taxpayers' funds, and so we have to be prudent and accountable. And two, we can't be having a repeat of an MNIB racking up hundreds, well, tens of millions of dollars in debt, particularly owing farmers and suppliers and agro-processors, and then we're coming back 2 or 3 or 5 years from now saying the same thing.
Only when it has to do with the people, the ordinary people of this country, that it matters. Other than that, you guys waste our monies, our scarce resources, with no accountability. Absolutely no accountability. Say a couple more of these of the farmers.
First of all, let me tell you this. You can't sack marketing board. It's impossible. And I will tell you why. There are too many people depending on marketing board.
Too many people depending on marketing board. All of that. And the Prime Minister still, and it's him, no other person in the cabinet, it's all, the buck stops at Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. Still shut down marketing board. All of that, and the voice of the acting general manager at the time, Mr. Peter Andel, who also advocated to have the MNIB remain. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell had the MNIB dissolved at a press conference hosted by the government of Grenada. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell spoke of the closing of marketing board.
Now, to the issue of marketing and national importing board, as you are aware, the government conducted a number of consultations during the month of January and February pertaining to the state of the marketing and national importing board and how we can treat with trying to find a solution to that. Cabinet, at its meeting on the 6th of February, approved the following approach, and I'm going to provide details of that. Overarchingly, Cabinet has taken the decision that the reform of the Marketing and National Importing Board must happen. To that end, we will embark upon the following. One, the current MNIB will be dissolved over the next 6 months, starting effective the 28th of February 2023. The staff of MNIB will be severed, and the government will undertake the responsibility for paying the severance packages to the 94 employees at the MNIB. Between February and September, and if possibly sooner, the government will take a two-pronged approach to addressing the reform of the MNIB. The existing MNIB will be essentially wound down. The board will be responsible, the current board will be responsible for closing of MNIB outlets that do not need to be opened. We expect that the board will concentrate on the River Road facility and the packing house to continue servicing our farmers during the next 6 months. During that period, the board would be responsible for the management of the winding down of the MNIB operations. In addition to severing the staff and undertaking the liability to pay the staff, the government will also assume liability for the estimated $15.1 million of debt that the Marketing and National Importing Board is currently unable to pay. To that end, the Ministry of Finance will lead the negotiations with the third parties, including the banks and other third parties that Marketing Board is owing. We will also appoint a technical working group, and the technical working group job would essentially be during the 6-month period while we are winding on the Marketing and National Importing Board, would be to assist the government with the creation of a new entity. We envisage that entity will be a public-private partnership between the government of Grenada, private sector
individuals, members of the public who may be interested, and other stakeholders, including farmers cooperatives who may be interested in investing in the Marketing and National Importing Board. The technical working group, therefore, will pay attention towards the creation. Essentially, their mandate will be to help government with creating the new entity. We anticipate that this will occur during the 6-month period while we are winding down the existing Marketing and National Importing Board. To do this, therefore, we had no choice but effectively to begin the process of bringing to an end the existence of the current Marketing and National Importing Board. It's a statutory body. It was created by legislation, and ultimately at the end of the 6-month period, we expect that the MNIB Act will be repealed. So in summary, the staff will be severed as at the end of February, and the government will assume the liabilities for paying the staff their severance. 2, the government will assume liability for the existing approximately, and note I say approximately, $15.1 million worth of MNIB's debt. 3, the government will, on its ability to assume the debt and, if necessary, renegotiate the payment of the debt over a period of time, have the assets of MNIB transferred to the government. Thereafter, we will expect the technical working group to do its work during the 6-month period, and that will include the creation of a new entity. We will then expect that we will transfer some of the assets of MNIB, particularly the River Road facility, into the new entity, and we would go about seeking private sector investment during the 6-month period to be able to take part in the new public-private partnership. So it is not a case where we are simply closing down MNIB with no prospect of a better future. We certainly anticipate that with the formation of a public-private partnership, it will put the food industry in Grenada, particularly our farmers or agro-processors, and those who are interested in finding export markets in a better place to do so with the new entity. We would expect that the new entity would focus on, amongst other things, the question of the storage, logistics, preservation, distribution, and exportation of food and agro-produced goods within Grenada throughout the period. As I said, we expect all of this to begin in February, and our timeline for the conclusion of it is September of this year. So
that would be 2024, right? Since then, folks, food exports plunged 37% in 2024. Agricultural products dropped by 20%. In the 2024 estimates, $67 million was budgeted for agriculture. Only 26 million was touched, right? Or 26 million rather went untouched. In 2025, agricultural budget chopped in half, a $30 million cut. Then the announcement of a new entity by the Minister of Agriculture, Adrian Persuader Thomas, at the time.
Thank you very much, Calistro. In the face of all of this, we believe that the farmers have a critical role to play, and we understand the importance of Marketing Board. We know definitely it plays a critical role in terms of marketing farmers' produce. One of the things that a new entity will be going into is the whole question of agro-processing. This will be an arm that they will have to look at in regards to helping the farmers. But as you will realize, we have started the consultation process in terms of coming up with this plan with the farmers. And we will continue with the consultation process in the whole question of revamping the Marketing Board. There are farmers, you have to realize that the farmers, most of them are basically private enterprises, private entity. And it is time for these private entities to really come up and be part of the marketing process. It has not been like that in the past. The private entities were selling to Marketing Board, which was a public corporation, statutory body. And the farmers basically didn't have a say in the end product. In this new entity, the farmers will have a critical say in terms of going forward. And the Prime Minister did outline that they too will have the opportunity in terms of being part and parcel of the new enterprise that we are thinking of.
The question is, which new entity is he talking about? And the whole consultation thing, it was just mammagism to pretend and to say, yes, they consulted. You consulted, you say you went in there, you made no decisions. The farmers unanimously said, leave marketing board as it is, just revamp, just help them up, and you shut it down, right? The operations was supposed to be fully functional in June of 2024. Nothing so. There's a new timeline. There was a new timeline which brought it to September of 2025. In the 2025 budget presentation, the Minister of Finance to the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have taken decisive steps to address the long-standing financial mismanagement and interferences that plagued the marketing and the National Importing Board, MNIB, to stop the organization's financial and operational decline. We scaled down all operations and assumed all debts, creating a foundation for meaningful restructuring. However, the restructuring process has faced delays due to the absence of years of audited financial statements, complicating valuation and due diligence efforts. Despite these challenges, the government remains committed to transparency and accountability in this transaction. The engagement of a strategic partner is key to building a modern, efficient, and sustainable entity, and that will better save farmers, agro-processors, and the broader economy. To this end, a new company, Import-Export Agromat, called IMEXA Limited, has been established to replace the MNIB. And legal and financial experts are developing a prospectus and legal agreements to engage a suitable strategic partner and have the new entity up and running before the end of the third quarter in 2025. When that too did not come true, the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, on his DM's the PM talk show, was asked about the new entity, IMEXA, and this is what he had to say.
We still have to address the Marketing and National Importing Board situation. We are working assiduously to get that done. The main challenge we've had is the MNIB was so poorly run that there were no financial statements for many, many years. And as we attempt to get a private partner to partner with us, we have to be able to have those financial statements. So we have given the instructions to try and accelerate this. But when statutory bodies don't do their financials and are not run properly, and the government has to bail it out, that's the kind of challenge we face, where you can't even present an investor with a financial statement to tell it the historical performance of the entity you're asking it to now partner with to create a new one. So once we get over that hurdle, we expect that we will then be in a position to properly approach many of the private investors that we've already approached, but we can't give them the financials to be able to form that joint venture that would allow us to then create, I think the new name is IMEXA, that will allow us to then focus on ensuring that we can help with the logistics that is required to support our farmers in terms of their produce and getting markets for it and having forward-based contracts and so on.
5 months later, and that's from the last timeline, which was September, end of September of 2025, right? 5 months later, are you serious? We still nowhere. with IMEXA, and they're good at names, eh? One thing, give them that. The names are IMEXA, Project Polaris, IMA, the BEST program, the WASH program. You just name it. You know the BEST program is? The dissolution, eh? It's called the BEST program. And it was more or less dissolved. Prime Minister, in the absence of financials, how did you know that the MNIB was making a loss if there was no financials? How were you able to establish that MNIB owed $15 million in debt? Did you have sight of the Integrity Commission report dated December 2021 as published by the Now Grenada on September the 12th, 2022, which documented at least 7 years of financials for the MNIB? Is it, Prime Minister, that your government did not receive reports from the MNIB consistent with Part 12 of the Public Finance Management Act? Are you aware, Prime Minister, that all statutory bodies, including MNIB, submitted quarterly financials to the policy unit of the Ministry of Finance, as was agreed by the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and the past administration? Is it that your administration, 3 years plus, ceased to have followed up on the reporting requirements? Or is it because of the lack of continuing the reporting requirements that we are witnessing a massive corruption in our state entities like the NLE, Gravel and Concrete, Ministry of MIT, the Housing Projects, the Grenada Development Bank, the National Organizing Committee, the Rural Development Project, the RGPF, the Ministry of Cariifa and the PT Martinique Affairs, the Ministry of Climate Resilience, and many more. The IMA. Huh? Moving along, the people still awaits the accountability of the $22.5 million spent on the 50th anniversary independence celebration. How about the 500,000 stolen from the cookie jar? We await a report on that money with fingers pointing at a certain nation builder. Let's hear the Senator Persuader Thomas in the Senate when they got the first allocation of $7.5 million and his promise to come back to the people on the spending of that money.
Madam President, under the Ministry of, in the Prime Minister's office, we are prepared to take on a very important venture. 50 years as an independent nation. And we would not allow this 50th anniversary of independence to go as it usually go with our official ceremony for a couple hours on the 7th of February. Our intention, Madam President, is to make and mark this Jubilee celebration not for a day, but for 14 months where the people can feel part and parcel of this Jubilee celebration. And we're going to launch this celebration, Madam President, next month. We're going to launch it. And there is no need for any citizen to feel left out because they don't like going to the stadium or they don't like going to see parade. There will be activities, Madam President, where every single Grenadian can identify themselves with one or two, and so they could be part and parcel of the celebration. And because of the new grounds we want to venture into, culture, sports, you name it, we're going to make sure that we have activities where Grenadians can participate, home and abroad. And I can say, Madam President, from the time we said 1 year celebration, people in the diaspora has been calling and asking questions. As a matter of fact, some of them booked their flights already for the 7th of February. But I say to some of them, the 7th of February will only be 2 months in the celebration. So you may have to come again. And so, Madam President, a budget of $7.5 million is allocated to this very important activity. Allocated. And I want to say allocated because the working committee that we have in place, they are in the process of planning and giving the details of what those activities will be like. And we want to make no mistake to come back to this house again when we get the details of the planning. One may argue the question, well, why you didn't do the detail first? Yes, we could have done that. But Madam President, we believe that if the fact that it was not done does not mean that we cannot cater for it. So we're going to allocate $7.5 million to this program. And also, I want to tell this House that this administration is a very accountable administration. And it will not be anything flying by in terms of abusing the $7.5 million. We will make sure that every cent is well accounted for this celebration.
The people still await the accountability of the $22.5 million. The people will also like a report on the money spent on the Office of the Creative, and in particular, the Unleash, the 2023 budget, $3,472,968. The 2023 supplemental budget, $135,845. The 2024 budget, the Creative Desk, $4,908,649. Basically $5 million. The 2025 budget, $4.5 million. And the 2026 budget, $4.9 million. The question is, where is this Creative Desk? Where is the accountability of the millions? In fact, $17,967,462. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, where are we on the radar issue? Are the technical people still deliberating? Do you have any update for us, Prime Minister? Any change from your January 4th, 2026 interview on Beyond the Headline?
Radar. I know that it was announced, the request was made, it was being reviewed. President Trump in his press conference on Saturday spoke of the possibility of a second wave. So is that radar question still relevant? And if yes, where are we with the review?
We're still conducting the review. I think people need to appreciate that, and I've said this repeatedly, we have a civilian airport that was not designed for any military installation. Grenada doesn't have a military. So routine, if I may call, law enforcement cooperation, Coast Guard, RSS, etc., are things that we
would use that word, routinely partner with the United States. A request to host military stuff introduces a whole new ballgame, and for an airport that is already cramped for space, that already has challenges with ensuring that we meet the FAA guidelines in terms of distance from the runway. You would appreciate that we are very much locked in. We're extremely close to St. George's University. We're extremely close to buildings on either side of the runway. We literally, it's a narrow tip of a peninsula. We have no space. So issues of safety, issues of the impact on the airport, all of those things have to be carefully considered. The type of radar, what impact it has on safety and navigation, etc. All of those things are things that has to be considered. In some instances, we've had to rely on the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority to provide feedback, and the NTRC to provide feedback. These are technical things that I'm not in a position to advise myself on. So sometimes, if a request is sent or information is sent, you have to send to someone else. They have to study. They have to come back to you, and so on. And sometimes there's lulls in the communication and so on. And that is part of what has happened. So that's just purely on the technical side. I mean, obviously, then on the diplomatic, a larger scale, there are other considerations that we would have had to consider. Okay, what is the legal basis? What happens if something happens? How many personnel are coming? What is their status when they are they civilian? Are they military? Are they law enforcement? What happens if something happens between them and a Grenadian civilian, if they're in a hotel or something, and God forbid there's some altercation or incident? All those things have to be understood. If we got to the point where we couldn't do it, and would have to be written down, legal agreements would have to be signed up, and so on. So this is not some simple run-of-the-mill stuff, because we essentially have no framework for this. A lot of the other law enforcement type requests, we have frameworks in place for treating with. So it is both technical issues, it is both also legal issues that we would have had. I get the impression that people seem to be anxious or impatient over the matter, which is baffling to me. And that's just on that. And then there would have been also, certainly from a legal perspective, okay, even if it was what is it being used for? Right? Again, as I said, we have no military. You've heard me start off by talking about the zone of peace. We certainly have no difficulty in supporting law enforcement measures. It's a completely different issue here if we're talking military action, provoked or unprovoked. Because I can't on the one hand be saying we promoting zone of peace diplomacy, and on the other hand I'm saying a country that doesn't have a military then begins the process of saying, okay, we can be militarized without understanding the consequences of your principle versus your action. So these are not simple matters that you wake up, have a dream about, and decide, okay, I found the answer, right? And then I think crucially and probably finally, the voice of the people on a matter of this importance would obviously have to be heard and taken into consideration and deliberated on. I think you saw that there's been significant debate and demonstrations and all kinds of things about the matter just because we said we were considering it, right? So again, those things would have had to be factored. So in a sense, the request is still a live request. And I think I've kind of said where we are in terms of my answer to the question.
If I'm to...
That could never take this long for to deliberate on that. Well, these people are not technical people. If the technical team, these people, folks, that was our Minister for National Security, Honorable Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. Prime Minister, what was the reason for the cancellation of the U.S. visa of one of your cabinet member, Minister of Finance, Dennis Cornwell? Who are the others affected by the visa cancellation that you speak of or keep speaking of? I've heard you several times mention that.
Visa restrictions imposed on a number of the OECS territories, and one of the things that have been cited was the CBI programs. Grenada, like the other OECS countries, signed on to an agreed framework in terms of how the oversight of the CBI program will take place, but yet we were not cited. Why are we getting special treatment?
I keep saying your questions are directed to the wrong person. I don't know that we're getting special treatment. That's the first thing. And again, you know, we have to emphasize that American policy is for American policymakers. And how they make the policy really is a matter that I can't speak to, nor do I really wish to speak to be frank. I think what we can speak to is Grenadian policy, and in instances where there's regional consensus on a particular policy, regional consensus. I can certainly speak to the CBI program in Grenada and in the region. I can speak to the fact that we've made significant strides to continue strengthening the programs, strengthening oversight, strengthening due diligence, strengthening the standards that we have for screening and vetting of applicants, strengthening the transparency. That is why we were readily able to agree to the 6 principles back 2 years ago with the United States. That has formed the foundation for us to deepen cooperation and collaboration, not just with the United States, but with the United Kingdom and the European Commission as well, and countries within that framework. That is why we've been able to agree and pass legislation on having a regional regulator. The regulator is going to be set up and housed in Grenada. The central bankers and the OECS Commission Secretariat has been key partners supporting us in this, together with the US, the UK, and the EU. And so we will continue along that line. I think we all have to recognize that, in a sense, this administration in the US probably has a more aggressive approach in terms of how they treat with various policy initiatives with their friends and foe alike. And so, as I said, I'm not in a position to speak to their thinking, and nor can I speak to whether or not, simply because I can give you an example. Which was the first country that was sanctioned on visa issues? Is Grenada.
Correct.
The visa of the Minister of Finance was cancelled, together with other parties.
Has that been reinstated?
No, it has not been reinstated. Okay. You could have asked Dominica and St. Lucia and St. Vincent why they were getting special treatment then.
No, and the question is just this. There was a first strike on Grenada. We're very similar in respect to the CBI. There was these meetings held, and hence the question arose, did Grenada agree to something ahead of Antigua and Dominica now coming on board, whether it's the acceptance of third parties, etc.?
I'm saying, that's the point I'm making. I'm saying U.S. policy and the enactment of U.S. policies for the U.S. And I can't speak to what their thinking is in terms of how they treat other countries. At best, if they convey to Grenada their thinking on any particular matter peculiar to Grenada, then I can speak to it, but I'm not in a position to speculate as to what's going on with Antigua and Dominica.
What is the update on the fish ban? Our fisher folks and their families are depending on you and your government, the NDC, Deacon Mitchell-led administration.
Prime Minister, the blue economy. And before we get into the blue economy, because I know it's a new term, January 1st has passed, and we are aware that there has been now, I guess, post-January 1st, instituted an embargo on the exportation of our yellowfin tuna to the U.S. Is there any updates that you can give us on that? I know that we did some legislative work, but where are we in getting that reversed?
Right, so in December, the NOAA opened its portal to allow us to reapply. The reapplication has been made, and it is being considered by NOAA. We anticipate, all things being equal, that we will get a response from them during the month of January, and we are cautiously optimistic that we believe we've met all of the legislative, regulatory, and technical requirements that are necessary, and hopefully should satisfy NOAA to allow for the restriction on the importation of fish to be lifted. So that is in essence where we are. Okay,
and that's excellent news. And did they give a feedback as to what the review timelines are like or not?
No, I'm saying January because I think that's kind of the sense we have. Obviously, we recognize that, and I think they recognize that obviously the restriction went into force on the 1st of January. Mm-hmm. So we believe they're acting in good faith, and both our technical and diplomatic efforts have been relentlessly pursuing this issue because we recognize the significant importance it is to the fishing community and exporters of fish, and we hope that all things being equal, that we will get a favorable response, as I said, in the month of January.
Okay. Do we have any safety nets for our fisher folk in the interim, or are we dependent on a speedy turnaround from NOAA?
Well, at this stage, I don't want to say we have safety nets in the interim because we need to see what the response is from NOAA, and having seen that, then it will put us in a position to know if we need to get to safety nets at all. Obviously, we would hope that we don't have to get to safety nets.
Fair enough.
We're almost at the end of February. We're almost at the end of February. And we, at the February 16th, we got a message from Lennox Andrew, Minister for the Ministry of the Blue Economy and Marine Affairs. Well, he's fishery as well. I don't know if it's just blue economy now. It's just all St. George's, Grenada, February 16, 2026. Today, I want to speak directly to the people of Grenada, especially our hardworking fisheries processors, fishers, processors, exporters, and families who depend on the sea. Our fishing industry is not just an economic sector. It is part of who we are as a nation. It supports livelihoods, strengthens food security, and contributes significantly to our exports and nation development. In light of the current seafood restrictions, I want to assure the public that this government is fully committed to protecting both the interests of our people and the long-term sustainability of our fishery sector. We are taking immediate steps to, 1, strengthen regulatory oversight and compliance system, improve traceability and quality assurance standards, work closely with our international partners to restore full market access as quickly as possible, provide targeted support to affected fishers and exporters during this period. At the same time, we are accelerating efforts to increase local value added production, reduce import dependence, and expand domestic consumption of high quality Grenadian seafood, including our world-class yellowfin tuna. This moment requires unity, transparency, and decisive action. My ministry will maintain open communication with industry stakeholders and the public as we navigate this challenge together. The government stands firmly with our fishers. We will correct what needs to be corrected, strengthen what needs to be strengthened, and ensure that the future of Grenada's fisheries sector is resilient, competitive, and sustainable. This statement, my friends, is 3 years late. 3 years late. Again, putting the cart before the horse. Fishermen now don't want to hear this. What they need is an update on the fish ban. Moving along. So I've seen the list of the new SpiceMas Corporation Board of Directors. I'll share with you. Kurt Ross remains the chairman. Frances Postal, Dillian Edwards, Tessa McQuilkin, Dale Neptune, Cecilia Griffith, Lorenzo Sylvester, Roy McEwen. Remember that name. Lest we forget, I'll remind you of Roy McEwen in an upcoming episode. Paul Christopher, the Royal Grenada Police Force, Kevin Jacob, Chief Cultural Officer, Dwight Logan, Carriacou and Petit Martinique representative. So Logan is on the board, right? Because Carriacou and Petit Martinique apparently need to have a representative on the SpiceMas board, right? And the Grenada Steel Pan Association representative, they have not named somebody there yet. I have a question for Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Is it true the chairman of the SpiceMas Corporation board, Mr. Kurt Ross, is now a bearer of an official Grenadian passport? If so, why so? Now, as I am on foreign affairs, if you look on your screen, you'll see photos of Ambassador Richard Nixon or Richard Peters, whichever name he carries at any given point, and Attorney at Law Trevor St. Bernard. Can someone in the government, to whom it may concern, tell the people of Grenada about Ambassador Richard Nixon / Peters' successful visit to Abuja, was what it was about, and the success that he speaks of in those photos. And what have we as a people gained from this trip, and what capacity attorney and a member of the board of directors of the Grenada Development Bank accompanied him on that trip. A trip so successful, they flew back in a private jet to Grenada. And we heard nothing about it after they've landed. So successful. Tell us, what did Grenada gain from this trip? Is it true Special Envoy and advisor to the government on the creatives and ICT with responsibility for the creative desk, Mr. Orlando Romain, with retainers in government departments and subsidies, have not been paying taxes on monies collected? Is it true? To the Prime Minister and Minister for Infrastructure, who is the partner you speak about that is partnering with gravel and concrete to reopen the telescope quarry? Is it true, Prime Minister, the mansion on the hill with the panoramic view that you occupy, and that the people of Grenada is paying $20,400 a month for you? Is it true the property now belongs to you? And is it true we, the people, are now paying your mortgage? Asking for the people. It's out there, and the people wants to know if it's true. Question, Prime Minister, what is the status of the official Prime Minister's residence at Mount Royal? Where are we with the renovations?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening to the Honorable Prime Minister. I have a question, but if someone already asked it, sorry about that. I just tuned in.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to know the present condition of the Prime Minister residence in Patusi. Could you give us an update on that building and what is taking place there, and how soon you will be renovating or going there in the future? I'd just like to know.
Thank you.
Right, so thank you, caller, for the question. The building is carded for renovation. We are hoping that the renovation can commence this year. The team from the Ministry of Infrastructure has been working on improvements to the architectural design,
and to general renovation. As you may be aware, when we assumed office, the building was not livable. It appears as if it had not been lived in for quite a while, outside of the what I will call outer buildings that the security detail was using. The main building itself was not functional, and so it requires some significant work to make it functional, not just for whoever will hold the office of Prime Minister, but all of the support staff that will come with it, the security detail, housekeepers, etc. We are hoping to, the renovation is, at least from the architectural design, it's mostly internal changes and some additional amenities. We are hoping that the residence can be used as an official meeting place. Because as it stands now, for example, if you have large visiting foreign delegations, based on the current construct of the ministerial complex, there's literally no place to house them, outside of the cabinet room, which to some extent is also a bit cumbersome because you have one significant large table in there with all the chairs around. So we are hoping that we can actually have dedicated space where if you are visiting foreign nationals, other heads of state, you can host the meetings there, both in terms of the ceremonial aspect, the working aspect, and if necessary that, you know, a prime minister also visiting from another country needs a room to sleep over in the night, that we can afford some basic amenities of statehood for visiting colleagues. So hopefully the work will commence, and we expect that once it commences, within 12 months, it should be complete.
Okay. What work will commence where? That was extemporing. Nothing has happened to residents at the Prime Minister's residence. But is it true, Prime Minister? The property, as is, without renovations, is housing for your security detail. And is it true you hired guys who were never in the force, 7 of them, a couple of them above the age criteria for becoming a member of the RGPF? You hired them, send them to Morocco for 2 weeks to train and have them stationed up at Mount Royal. Is that true? Speaking of the Royal Grenada Police Force, why is our taxpayers' paid Commissioner of Police causing with the Prime Minister, the political leader of the NDC, rather, on an NDC flyer? If you look on your screen, people, is Commissioner Randy Connaught Commissioner for the NDC or Commissioner for the people of Grenada, Cariifa, and Petit Martinique? Isn't that compromising the integrity of the office of the commissioner? Now, as I am on commissioner, what's your findings, Commissioner, on the drones that was flown over and in front and around my home for months? I made a complaint to the commissioner. I was told the only response I got was that my letter of complaint was received. Since then, I've heard nothing, and that's a good couple of years now, actually. Also, Commissioner Randy Connaught, where are you with the investigation on the Minister Andy Williams on following the advice of the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell? I wrote to the Commissioner's office on the bribery, on the bounce checks, and on the monies given to him by the Grenada Development Bank. I followed the advice of Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Deacon Mitchell.
Sunday, June 29th on the Bub Report. Why was that JIPA contract cancelled?
When we got into office, there was no active work taking place.
You may or may have heard of allegations of bribery against your Minister of MIT.
Bribery is a criminal act, and that's true. But someone is making an allegation. I'm sure the IGP at the step, make sure the FLE is dead, make sure the integrity function is dead.
Grenadian Prime Minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell.
So where are you, Commissioner, on the investigation pertaining to the bribery, which is a crime, and the issuing of bounce check just from one company alone, $149,474.09 of different checks, totaling that amount, which is a crime as well. And the unlawful loan disbursement to Minister Andy Williams, according to the GDB Bank, the Grenada Development Bank Act, totaling over $3 million. Where are we with that investigation? Folks, I dropped in my letter and the information to the commissioner. I got a response from the commissioner saying that he received it. Later on, a few weeks later, I got another response asking me for more information, which I gave to the commissioner. And since then, I've heard nothing from the commissioner of police. Months now, almost a year now. I have nothing from the commissioner of police, but he posing in an NDC flyer with the prime minister. Nothing. I have the same request was made to the FIU, to the managing director. I don't know what's his position. Nothing. He did not even respond to receiving the documents. I called their office many times. Every time I called, I was told an officer will get in touch with me. Not a word. Since the Prime Minister dismantled the FIU when they came into office and put his friends in place, persons who have no idea what they're doing. That was it. And up to today, I've heard nothing from the FIU. To the Board of Directors of GDB, directed at the chairperson, Ambassador Andrea St. Bernard, who's the treasurer of the NDC party, who's the advisor to the Prime Minister and government of Grenada, and on investment and development, a member of his travel and entourage. She is director on other boards like Grenlect. She's the project sponsor for Project Polaris and the de facto Minister of Health. Is it true, Ms. St. Bernard, that Minister Andy Williams has offered the board of directors and the bank a $1 million ECD, a payoff to write off his loan with the bank? So he's owing maybe $3 million still, because as I understand it, he has not been servicing his loan. But he's now offering to pay $1 million to write off his loan with the bank, knowing fully well he cannot be nominated as a candidate, owing the government of Grenada. The question is, where did Andy Williams get $1 million to offer the bank? And is there more millions where that 1 million is coming from? But why am I not surprised with the movement of monies that took place and probably still is taking place within the Ministry of MIT? A worker got fired because, they had online banking. And one of the workers that had access to it were able to see the movement of the monies from MIT to private accounts. And when she spoke about it, she got fired. So with that type of movement of monies, and we know hundreds of millions of dollars pass through MIT, not hundreds of thousands, listen to me well, hundreds of millions of dollars pass through MIT. So when Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell finally decided he would take the Build Back program from MIT, in the last couple of weeks, the minister, Andy Williams, was able to write a check for $500,000, gave it to Miss Dawn, one of his officers, and said to her, go take care of my people. And we must do it in the week coming, because they had to wrap up, right? The money was given, the check was given to a hardware store, and calls were made to uncle, cousins, friends, families to go down there. One person went down there and went back home with 3 truckloads. 3 truckloads of materials. So if Ms. Dawn, the minister, could have write a check to Ms. Dawn for $500,000, need I ask or need I say how much he could write a check to himself for? $500,000, just a check, which the Minister of Finance say is illegal, right? So where did Andy Williams get the $1 million? Or where the $1 million he promising to pay the bank to write off his loan? And the thing is, he must pay loan. Remember, they gave him back his security after a few months of the loan in 2023. They gave him back all his security. His house, which he sold for $600,000, and his parents' house in the Limes, and 2 lots of land small lots of land in St. David, which couldn't even cover the loan, couldn't secure the loan. And they still gave it back to him. What I think is joke corruption. But we keep an eye on this one. We keep an eye on that one with the development bank. Because as I understand it, the development bank is broke. The international financial entities and institutions are refusing to give development bank money. Of course, the government don't have to give them, because the record is there to show that corruption is taking place inside the development bank. So they are on the verge of bankruptcy, so to speak, the development bank. So we're watching. So did the board of directors accept the $1 million and write off Andy's debt? This is what the people would like to know. We need some kind of accountability from that board. Question: how about the 2.5 million USD loan we were supposed to get from the Afro-Exim Bank towards Project Polaris? Headlines all over the place. Boots on the ground, transformation happening. Where is that $2.5 million? Or did we get the $2.5 million for Project Polaris to build their health village or their Ponzi scheme? This NDC, Deacon Mitchell-led administration, is speaking of. calling on the Deputy Chairman of the NDC and Managing Director of the Postal Corporation, Mr. Randall Robinson, NDC mascot. Where is the Postal Corporation? What's the situation of the building on the carriage that was being retrofitted to house the Postal Corporation? Where is the Postal Corporation? That's a question because there are people that don't know where to go. Already over $800,000 was spent on the retrofitting of that building that used to be the cigarette factory on the carriage by the bus stop. People, when you're passing, look in there. It's been shut down for months now, the project. I made a call to the chairman of the board of directors. He said to me that, Mr. Adrian Francis, he said to me that the project, they were reviewing the project. Word is, my friends, the money done. They have no money to continue. School children say the money done. Is it true, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell? The money done. Is it true the Postal Corporation monies were given to central government to help pay bills and the rest squandered in travels? The UK, the US, Dubai, Qatar. We need an update on the Postal Corporation and what's really going on. Question: when will the St. John's River project be picked up from where the previous government left off? What happened to the 2 bridges for the project that the Prime Minister said was on island months ago?
I think in the interest of time, there is no need for me to prolong the discussion. I will just add to my honorable friend from the town of St. George that the St. John's River project is in fact a priority. I had said previously that the quotation we got for constructing 2 concrete builds was in excess of $30 million. And yes, in excess of $30 million. And in those circumstances, unless there was absolutely no other alternative, but those 2 bridges, we obviously had to find ways to ensure that we were getting value for money. I'm happy to report to the member for the town of St. George that in fact there are alternatives. And some of the alternatives are perhaps in keeping with some of the more aesthetically historic and pleasing features that the area of River Road has. You know, we have a historic green bridge there, which should really be preserved and turned into something rather than sitting rotting. But we have procured, Mr. Speaker, 2 steel bridges at a fraction of the cost. The bridges are in fact on the island. They've been shipped, they've arrived. The designs for the abutments of the bridges are more or less completed. We expect that the design review process will take place. And once that commences, then the time frame for, in fact, installing the bridges will be reduced significantly, because as opposed to actually having to build a concrete bridge, which will take a significant time, you're actually building just the abutments and the assembling. So rest assured, MP for the town of St. George, we appreciate the need to ensure that this project is completed, and we should be able to provide further updates in due course. I also want to assure the MP for St. Andrew Southeast. I actually agree with everything she said, except perhaps at the point where she was exaggerating a little when she said government would in all the trucks and all the thing. I think she recognizes that what I'm saying is that
Today, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell is saying, don't know if we need 1 bridge or 2 bridge or no bridge. So where are the 2 bridges that been on island according to him? Months now. What about the electric school buses, Prime Minister?
at this stage, I can't answer that the government will invest in a bus system. I think that's why Commissioner Campbell made the point of saying to get to a point where you roll out anything on a national scale, you need to test it and you need to have a pilot. So what I could answer definitively is that we are likely to invest in a pilot project specific to school children, for example. That may mean buying 1 or 2 electric buses at a particular school and you then transport the children, and you collect the data coming out of that to then tell you, is this something that is feasible? Is this something that is sustainable? Is it something that makes sense? Are there alternatives to it? So we are not yet at the point where we can say to you definitively, we will go and buy a fleet of buses or invest in a fleet of buses. That's the first thing. Second, I would say, certainly as the Minister for Transport, I would be hesitant to do so without first giving the private bus owners who have provided public transportation service all the opportunity to see how we can work with them to improve and extend the public transportation system. We don't have to own the buses, that is the government, in order to be able to work with the bus owners and the Bus Owners Association to be able to expand and improve and make more reliable the bus system in Grenada. There may be one or two exceptional circumstances where we may have to get buses ourselves. For example, if you're dealing with persons who are physically challenged. If we come to the conclusion that, for example, and I'm just giving those things hypothetically, if after the data suggests that it may make sense to have one fare for school children and adults regardless, but we understand what that will do to access to education, so the government may say in those circumstances, okay, we may either pay the school fare for school children, or we may have some alternative bus system subject to what the pilot says, specific to school children only. But we can't make those decisions by just sitting in a room and pulling a decision out of a hat. We would need the data, we would need the analysis, we'll need the pilots, and then after we've done that, we'll be in a position then to go back to the public, go back to our stakeholders and say, having done ABC, this is what we are likely to do.
All you can't feed them school children, all you want to pay bus fee. Eh? You can't feed them. You don't want to pay bus fee. All talk. All talk. Okay. So how about the school pilot project without the electric bus, because that never happened? How about the school bus pilot project with all the fancy apps that was supposed to end at the 2025 school year at July, right? The new year starts in September, August holiday. Yeah. How about that project?
I'm excited as our CEO. It is indeed a very, very proud moment for the GTC to be here this morning at this launch. Now, when our commission was constituted in 2023, what was first and foremost on our agenda, and it remained on our agenda for quite a while, was a school bus pilot program, along with holiday, weekend, and night bus program. So this has been staple on our agenda. So that's why I'm so proud today to be standing here before you at the launch of the school bus pilot project. Now, the GTC understood that there are students who get to school late. Why? Because there is inadequate transportation in certain areas, rural areas, underserved areas, and that is one aspect. Another aspect is that there are parents who just cannot afford to give their children bus fare to go to school. And that is all throughout Grenada, not only in the rural areas. So recognizing that, we decided, and again, the Prime Minister, it's part of the transformation agenda, we decided that, look, we have to launch this school bus pilot project. We have to ensure that all students in Grenada have safe, affordable, and reliable transportation to access schools. Now, when I say safe, right, I want parents to feel assured that your children are safe. And that is why the CEO pointed out that this is innovative, it's all technical, it's AI-driven. So there are apps. You have the parent guardian app, and that ensures that you can track your child in real time. So you know where they are on morning, where they are on afternoon, where the bus is at. So you can feel safe and secured that my child is taking the school bus. In real time, I can view the behavior of my child, of the driver. And this is important because you have to feel that if you're entrusting your child to a transportation system, that it is safe. You also have the Administrator app. And it allows now the schools to monitor again in real time, so you can schedule in case there are emergencies. So you are fully aware from the school now what is happening. You can see when the bus is coming, when the bus is leaving, if there are delays. You can optimize, routes. You also have the bus operator app, right? And again, this is important. This is important now for the operator in terms of scheduling, timing, delays. Again now, and what is most important for the GTC now is the control that the GTC have over this entire process, because there is a module now which ensures that the GTC can monitor in real time everything that is happening and can collect data, and that data that would allow us now to smooth out any kinks in the system, because it's what you call a trial run, right? That's what a pilot project is. It is a trial run, and it will allow you to see any deficiencies you have in the system and to smooth out those deficiencies. So that's what all those apps allow us to do. You also have the e-paper, the passenger information system, and that again now is a schedule, electronic schedule, which is would allow you now to know the schedule of the bus. The bus is arriving at 11:20, so I know what I can do. Or the bus would drop off in that particular area at 11:30. Again, the students are given a card. That card would allow you to access the bus. So it is, well, we can say foolproof for now. We know that with any system, any electronic system, you may have a few glitches, but I want everyone, the public out there, to feel secure that this system is safe, it is reliable, so you can entrust your children to this school bus pilot project. I know it is being rolled out in the parishes of St. George and St. David. And after we gather the information, we take care of the glitches, then we will have a national rollout. Because the whole aim, the ultimate goal, is to ensure that all students in Grenada, irrespective of your stature, social standing, that you have affordable, safe, accessible transportation to get to.
Folks, that was the chairman of the Transport Commission. Apps. It never worked. Parents gave back their cards, returned their cards to the schools. Anybody was jumping on the buses. Big ones on the name on the bus for the bus, little ones left behind. It was a total mess, like everything else to do with the NDC. But we await, because they're supposed to rule out the island-wide, the nationwide bus system. Good thing, something that was good is good for the nation's children. Why try to make it so complicated? Why? What's the show off about? I never could understand what it is about. But while we're on Transport Commission, Prime Minister, is the Transport Commission a statutory body? We would like to know, because we have the wardens complaining that Mr. David Bartholomew, the CEO of the Transport Commission, it's telling the wardens that yes, the Transport Commission is a statutory body, and yes, he can make them permanent. Please, let us know, if and when did the Transport Commission become a statutory body? Folks, finally, where is the transformation agenda? To the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, and the NDC, his cabinet, all involved. Where is the transformational agenda or transformation agenda? Folk, that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, keeping them honest. Thank you for viewing yet another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. See you next week, same time, same place. And remember, a better Grenada is possible. Bye now.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.